Howdy everyone, it's Thursday, August 5th, 2010, and you're watching The Manly Potsies.
He's a man, such a man, such a man. He's a real man's man.
So today, Zeb is feeling very tired and frustrated, and feels like ranting a little bit, so hold on, because here I go. I got back from the Outer Banks on Monday. It was a fantastic trip. I felt very relaxed, very optimistic once I got back. But I was immediately thrust back into real life with all of its goofy, unnecessary stresses and pressures and all of that. So the current push that seems to be forcing itself upon me is to start doing at least some sort of regularly scheduled volunteer work or going to get a part-time job. I'm definitely not opposed to that, but I can't help but feel kind of pinned between a brick wall and a wrecking ball, metaphorically speaking. Part of it's pride, I think, because I am a bit proud that I'm the first person in my family or my immediate family at least, to have gone to college, let alone graduated cum laude, and I'm really proud that I worked my butt off to get that degree in something that I'm interested in, and it feels like I would be wasting those 5 years if I chose to do a job that wasn't in that field, which is environmental science. And the problem is that that's just not going to happen anytime soon, because most of the jobs that I'm interested in doing would involve being up on hot roofs all day and being comfortable in situations where I'm way up high and probably very warm, and that's just not very good. So I really don't have much of an option as far as doing those sorts of jobs goes for right now, so I'm going to try not to dwell on it, but it is frustrating. Another part of it, though, is the dichotomy created by the fact that I really want to have a good career and I want to be making something of myself, which in itself is really, really frustrating since I feel like I'm being held back by my illness. But all the while, what makes it more frustrating is that all the people around me are criticizing me for being lazy and pressuring me to do the very thing that I actually want to be doing. So it's like this nice little vicious cycle of frustration. And finally, there's the fact that in the next couple of years, my parents will probably be moving and leaving this house, and I will have to have a steady job and income if I want to survive on my own. So, and that's not exactly uncommon, and most people have to deal with that, but it is a little bit of a different ball game when you're dealing with a chronic illness. So, ironically, this kind of stress, this kind of frustration and things like that are one of the things that tends to set off my symptoms the most. And the best way for me to reduce said symptoms is to lie down, clear my mind, and relax, realize that it's not as dire as it may seem at the moment, and I'll just take it one step at a time and get through it. But of course the irony continues, because whenever I do that, from the outside, from others' perspectives, it looks like I'm just being lazier, and I'm not concerned about the future and my priorities and things like that, which only ends up making them more critical of what I'm doing. So it's very, very annoying. Anyway, that's the end of my rant. Thank you for listening to it. I apologize if I depressed anyone, but it does feel really good to get that out. So on a lighter note, happily, so far this week, I have been able to drive around town twice as much as I have usually been able to, and I haven't had much of an issue doing it. I went and got a haircut, you guys can probably tell. I went disc golfing with some of my friends. Actually got a -3 on the course, which I think is the best that I've ever done, so that was awesome. Hung out with my buddy Kyle, who's the guy that drove all of us out to the Outer Banks this past week, so thank you, Kyle. Had a good time hanging out with him, he's a good guy. So, and I also ran various errands and things like that around town, some of which I haven't actually been able to do in years, so it was really, really good. So Dave, your question for this week was, do you feel that someone who doesn't have dysautonomia is fit to lead a dysautonomia group? I think that's what it was. So, you know, to me really, it depends on what the group is all about, and it really depends on the personality of the people in question for the leadership position, I guess. Like, if the group is going to be just all about discussing and debating dysautonomia and talking about symptoms and things like that, then really I wouldn't care who was in charge as long as they had a pretty clear understanding of what dysautonomia is, and they could also provide a positive foundation for all the followers. You know, it's a difficult thing to deal with. It needs to stay upbeat. So, you know, dysautonomia-aware doctors or specialists, maybe nurses who know about dysautonomia, close family of people with dysautonomia, stuff like that would be perfectly fine. It wouldn't necessarily have to be someone with dysautonomia, at least in my opinion. If the group was going to be a little bit more serious, like would be giving out medical advice or advising people on what they should do, things like that, then I'd be a little bit more strict about it. I think I'd probably want the leader to be either a dysautonomia doctor or maybe a nurse, depending on their education level and experience level, of course, or someone who has dysautonomia themselves and preferably has a little bit of medical training on top of it. Yeah, I don't know. It all just comes down to the function of the group and their intent, and also the personality of the person. In general, you know, I'm pretty open, really, as long as the person's attitude is good and positive, and you know, they know what they're talking about. So it's really what it boils down to. My question for the week is, what is your preferred mode of travel, be it by plane, car, train, boat, maybe, and what are a few of the challenges that POTS or your other chronic illnesses have placed on doing that? And also, have you found any solutions or anything that helps you with those problems that the illnesses pose to traveling? So, like for me, I know that I would not do well at all on a plane. It was very stressful for me even back before I was sick. Not so much the flying aspect, but just the, I don't want to say the red tape of it, but just, you know, how much stuff you had to go through. You had to get to the gate at a certain time, or you had to get to the airport really early. You had to go through security. You had to get your bags checked. You had to, you know, there's so many goofy steps, whereas to me, I just want to like take my bags, go on the plane, and take off. If I could do that, it wouldn't be an issue. But it's that whole build-up of stuff that starts to stress me out about it. And nowadays, with how ridiculously picky they are about every little stupid thing, I don't know, I just don't want to deal with it. It's too much. So, for me, driving is the best option, I think. And that does pose a little bit of a problem, of course, because if I have symptom flare-ups while I'm driving, the only way that I can really calm them back down is to lay down and close my eyes and take deep breaths and stuff like that, which of course you can't do when you're driving. So I haven't really done enough driving, at least of any length, lately, although I'm working on it, of course, to really find many solutions for that other than pulling over and taking a breather and stuff like that. So I was just wondering if any of you guys had any ideas or tips on it. So I guess that's it for now. I hope everyone who's been feeling down lately can start to feel better, and all of you who are already feeling good can stay that way. So yeah, take care and have a good weekend, everyone, and I will see you next week.